process of increasing in size. A feature that is both individual, intrinsic, and throughout nature.
This is going to be so interesting, you know.
This is the moment we have been waiting for.
I'm feeling it now.
What has come before is now consigned to the history books. This new decade brings new challenges, new rivals, falling giants, and new beginnings.
Bang, bang, bang! 3 shots to the heart.
Oh,
at the back end.
Oh no!
Those who are climbing will meet. Who will fall by the wayside, and who will embody growth.
There's still wheel to wheel!
That is unbelievable.
League of Europe, grow or fade.
It is Mr. Killer Blue. He did say he wasn't going to be able to tonight, but he has managed to make his appearance. Jake, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. I saw Leicester had scored in the FA Cup final. I thought I'd sneak in, distract myself from the misery and pain. And now we've got a wet qualifying session, Jake. Oh, that's exciting, isn't it? We've got some, looks like heavy rain to me, not light rain. So it's long track as well. So I think we'll see some very interesting times in this session because, well, it is a track people do wet practice, isn't it? But I wonder how much improvement there's going to be because there's a big field spread anyway, and I'm sure as the session goes along, people will keep finding time just pounding around. So, very excited.
I am as well. As we've already got a couple cars that are making their way out of the pits, as you guys can see on your screens right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see how this is going to go. So, excuse me. Apparently, it's going to be like a full wet quali and a dry race. So, I suppose it's going to mix up a few of the strategies here. 16 drivers tonight, which I think, as we were saying, is actually a decent amount for the second to last race of the season, especially with it being in the second season of the game's life cycle. Usually it's around sort of 12, 13, but to have 16 drivers is very impressive, I will admit. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to go for the rest of the season. Of course, as I said, this is the penultimate round. And there are, well, the title has already been decided. Mr. Old School 3000 or D3000 manages to take it last week around Italy. And he has also just had a newborn. So massive congratulations to him. Probably couldn't have timed that any better if he tried. But yeah, all that is still left to give out is the Constructors title. And I will quickly have a look as to what the Constructors is looking like for you guys at the moment. I think the Haas team are in the lead with Racing Point in second. Let me just take a quick look. So the Haas, yeah, they are in the lead with 256 points, with Racing Point in second with 232. So they're sort of the only contenders that will be able to go ahead and, well, try and take that for tonight. Bree and Luke, of course, Miami as well is now back in for these last, or I believe it'll be for the last 2 rounds, if not at least for this round anyway. But yeah, Miami making a bit of a return. I wonder if that could throw a little bit of a spanner in the works for the Haas guys and maybe, just maybe, help out those Racing Point boys.
I think you could be right. I mean, Old School's quickest guy in this division, but if you ever had a race where you had zero incentive to practice, it's this one. As you say, total wrapped up, and many congratulations to him on the birth of his newborn son. But yeah, so I think this could be. There's an opening here. The door is askew for the Racing Point boys. I think you certainly would have tipped them anyway if Miami hadn't have unfortunately had to leave us. So, but Luke's done a really good job, I think, since he stepped up to that second Racing Point seat. He's really come a long way since the very start of the season, and he's had some good performances, some good results. But you know, it's a wet quali at Spa, so I wouldn't dare make any predictions how that's going to go. I know actually Lucas said he's not racing next week at Brazil, I think. So I think that may favour the Haas lads of Chill and Old School, but we shall see.
Well, the interesting thing is that Chill isn't even here tonight either, so this is a moment going to be advantage to Racing Point. They need to try and score as many points as they possibly can. I suppose it sort of evened things out with there being 2 Racing Points and 1 Haas tonight, and then 2 Haas's and 1 Racing Point next week. So, yeah, I'm kind of intrigued to see how that is going to go indeed. But riding on board with Mr. XL Miami, as I said to him, rejoining back into Division 3 for, as I said, this race and possibly for the next race as well. Yeah, I know that he was one of the ones that him and Old School were probably the 2 quickest in the wet, as well as Tin Can, in wet weather, and Miami just making his way out the exit of Sector 2 and now coming on, coming up to Sector 3, coming all the way up towards Blanchimont. But yeah, it's good to see him back in the league. Of course, anybody that had joined us midway through the season may not know that Mr. XL Miami, before he ended up having to have a bit of a hiatus, he was actually leading the championship ahead of Old School, ever so slightly, or it was very close between the both of them. But yeah, I think things started to get a little bit too tense with that. But Miami up to the line at 57.2 as his first lap, and I'm intrigued to see how that's going to compare to the rest of the guys, as Funky Chicken is the one that puts it on par with a 55.7.
Yeah, I was watching Miami, as I'm sure you were, going through that lap, and he didn't look necessarily like he was taking that car to full potential. 55.5 really improves by 2/10 of Funky Chicken. He had a big lift through Blanchimont, which I think was not necessarily, and again, pole for Old School now, also 55.5. But yeah, Miami didn't necessarily look like he was running that car to its full potential. He was driving within himself a little bit, probably just trying to feel his way around the track. Same again this lap. He had a big moment through Eau Rouge, 0.6 of a second down, and Peter and Tin Can pop in above him now. So I'm sure there's plenty of time in that for Miami, and I'm sure we'll see him get up to speed very quickly. But for now, it's not been an ideal start to the session, and there's a big spin for Raleigh coming as we come through No Name. He's dropped it on the exit of that long hairpin. Saw some wing damage fly there as well. So Raleigh, one of the earlier championship contenders, winner in Austria, of course, in round 1, and he's the first man to fall victim in qualifying to these conditions.
Certainly is, and interestingly enough, I'm seeing Luke try and go for a set of intermediate tyres, so it does look like the rain is easing up if I go on board with XL Brie. So I wonder if we are going to be seeing it go to intermediate conditions. It could very well be turning into that. I think Brie is going for a second run now on these wet compound of tyres. He is 700ths up on his time, but I believe there are a couple other guys that are just prepping up to finish their second runs. I think Funky Chicken might be the first of them, as in fact he's actually invalidated on his lap, so he's not going to be able to do that one. Tin Can, he is a 10th and a half up on his time through Sector 1, and I'm intrigued to see what it's going to be like through Sector 2, but I think Rudy might actually be the next one across the line if he is doing a second run. As yeah, Tin Can 2.5 tenths up on his time and gets it very, very slidey coming up to the beginning of Sector 3. But let's have a look. Rudy, he's actually gearing up to go for a second lap, so he won't be able to do that one. Raleigh into the pits. Is Old School up on his time. He's 4 tenths up on his time through Sector 2. Old School 55.0. He hasn't done any practice, well, he's done minimal amount of practice for this, and he's already 5 tenths up ahead of Rudy in second position. Obviously, as I said, the rain is starting to ease up, so we're going to be expecting some much quicker times as Tin Can puts it into P3 with a 55.729. But yeah, as I said, we're going to be starting to see a few more quicker times. RJ into the pits, Tim Matt's on a lap. Cam K, I believe, is also on a lap as well as we speak, as there are more yellow flags. I believe that is car mentalist.
Rain is... Oh, I just interrupt myself there. Vapor Trench had a tank slapper in the middle of poo on. That is not where you want to drop the car. Midway around the corner, between the two apexes, you hook it up first and then pick up the corner again later round. And between those, at the midpoint of the corner, the back just gave way and tipped him nearly 90 degrees. He was on a good lap up to that point, within a tenth of Old School through Sector 1, although Sector 1 is effectively just one corner. Although in these conditions, actually, it does present much more of a challenge, I think, in terms of how gutsy you are through Eau Rouge and Radion. But yeah, you're saying about Old School not done any practice, but rain is the great equaliser, isn't it? I think certainly in real life and in this game, it has the effect of bringing out some surprises. If you're struggling a little bit, rain can hide that perhaps, and Trench is going for another lap. I'm surprised at that. I thought everyone would be coming in into now. Visibly, it's light rain, so I'm surprised at how many people are still persevering with these full wets.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, I'm looking on board with Luke, and because he's on the inters on a lap, so I'm intrigued to see what the difference is going to be between these wet tyres and the inter tyres. And apparently, he's gone purple sector 1. Whether that is true or not,
He
I
hasn't.
do not know. So,
He's 2.5 tenths down on old school. 'Cause I did look when Trench was going through there.
right, okay, gotcha. So, yeah, obviously the game decided to tell a few bit of porkies. But, yeah, Tin Can improves on his lap with a 55.2, manages to get another lap done on those wet tyres. Rudy did also improve on his lap with 55.3 for the Dutchman. Still yet to pick up a race win, by the way, which is very, very surprising to me still. But, I mean, I suppose today could be the day. You never know, he could maybe pick up a win around Spa. Obviously, these guys are probably all going to be on dry setups, so I'll be surprised if anyone has actually decided to opt for a wet setup just for qualifying, considering that there is going to be a, well, it's dry race, so yeah, I'm intrigued to see how the rest of this is going to play out. Luke making his way out towards the end of Sector 2 at 24.691. Is that quicker than what Old School's gone so far, Jake, do you know?
I will have a quick look for you. So he did a 52.4 middle. Old school was a 52.0. So he's about 6 heads down overall. 52.2 for Tin Can, 52.2 for Rudy. Although Rudy's had on a very nice sector 1 right now. 51.9 actually. Funky Chicken in the middle. Funky Chicken quicker than anyone in the middle part of the lap right now, and he is out on intermediate. So we'll see if he improves. Where does Luke go? And he pops into 4th place. Not bad. It is coming towards the inters very much so. We might just be at the changeover point right now.
Yeah, so it's definitely the changing period now. Funky Chicken now on a lap. So is RX Scream. I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's Sofian or if that is someone completely different. I will have a quick look as to see who is the one in the AlphaTauri. It's actually a new driver, Jonas Schmidt. If I said that right, I probably absolutely butchered that name, but yeah, he is the one that is driving for this AlphaTauri, and I believe this is his first race, even though it is the penultimate round. So I'm intrigued to see how he is going to fare on, because I don't think he was with us last week. He is down as a reserve, of course. So yeah, right on board with him as he's making his way around Pouon now. If you mess up Pouon, then you've pretty much messed up the majority of that lap, because that's probably one of the quickest corners, not even only on the circuit but on the calendar. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see how he's going to fare on now, as he's now making his way up towards Lecom now, and coming towards the end of Sector 2, a 23.2, and I think you were saying that that might actually be a little bit quicker than what those top guys have done so far, so we could be seeing him charge towards that pole position very, very shortly, as he's making his way around Blanchimont now, keeping it almost flat, has to let off ever slightly, but carrying it on now towards the end of this lap, coming around a bus stop chicane now, and around the final corner is Scream going to pop it on pole position. This looks like it could be on pole so far. It's a 53.7, and you can definitely tell now it isn't as weather.
Funky Chicken is about to smash this out of the park, though. Him and Luke have both been on incredible laps. Funky Chicken was 22.7 through the middle sector. Luke goes second, and a 53.2 for Funky Chicken. You're right. It's inters all the way now, and it's going to be a case of how much does that track ramp up between now and the end of the session.
Certainly is. Raleigh also on a lap, as I was watching on board of Peter, but he invalidated on his lap, and he's actually come into the pits, so I don't think he was quite happy with that. But Raleigh, yeah, coming around Blanchimont now and up towards the bus stop chicane. This looks like this could also be in contention with Luke at the moment. Of course, now everybody is pretty much going onto the set of intermediate tyres, but Raleigh around the final corner and up to the line is still slower than Luke, of 54.2. For the man that's sitting in 3rd place in the championship. He's only 1 point behind Tin Can. Tin Can is the one that's moved up to 2nd position, and Tin Can currently sitting in 6th place, but was 2nd when it was the full wet tyres. I think we're going to be waiting and seeing everyone come out at the final point to try and get the best track evolution. I think that's the reason why there's still so many people that are sitting in the pits. A few guys out on outlaps like Tin Can, Rudy, Miami, Bree, Cam K, Trench, all on outlaps. K-Mark, I think, has started a lap. As you see it say Esteban Ocon there, that is actually Caesar. I'm not not too sure why he hasn't actually gone out and done a lap. Oh no, he can't go out and do a lap actually. Sorry, my apologies. So, yeah, K-Mark just sort of sliding around everywhere. No name.
I was just on board with Carl Mentalist. Just turn my mic up a little bit. Hope that's okay. I realised I was a little quiet. But Carl Mentalist is on a really good lap here. He did a 31.7 in Sector 1, which matches Funky Chicken and Scream, I do believe. He had a couple of moments. He had a twitch at No Name and then another at the camper chicane just before Stavilo. But he's coming to bus stop now. And how much does he want to attack this? Has a little lock up. He mounts the curbs quite a lot. I tend to avoid those in the dry, but in the wet they might give you a bit more purchase, help you rotate around the corner. 52.9 for Commentless, the third round of 52s, and Funky Chicken, while I was talking, improved to a 52.5. So yeah, track coming alive right now.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but K-Mark is on a pretty good lap as well. He's made his way around the final corner. Vapor
Oh,
K-Mark, massive slide out of that final corner. It was looking promising, and then a 53.7. It's still faster than Luke and Raleigh, who have done their times on the set of intermediate tyres, but now we're going to be seeing people come out and do their times. Raleigh goes across the line, and it's only a tenth and a bit faster than his teammate of Mr. Vapor K-Mark. So, Raleigh, I know qualifying isn't the strong suit, but I think you're going to need to speed it up a little bit more if you want a chance of still keeping this P3 or even P2 in the standings. Yeah. But yeah, running on board with Tin Canners. Is that K-Mark at the top of Radion?
D3 bingo.
Say it every week. It has to happen every single week. It's pretty much inevitable at this point.
Kamke's on a good lap, is he? Actually, I don't think he is. He's going to improve by his PB by 5 seconds, but only goes to P7, nearly 2 seconds off Funky Chicken. He's still not got a hanger qualified, has he, this season, Kamke? He goes 7th, but he's not going to stay there for long. And is that Rudy popping into 3rd place?
It was Miami,
I thought
though.
Rudy'd be quicker here, you know. Miami, indeed. I thought Rudy'd be quicker than this, even in the wet. I thought Rudy would be all over pole position. He's been very good for practice in the week. He's hungry. No marks have. He's got his various distractions, titles wrapped up. I don't want to call his son a distraction. But, this is Rudy's best chance, and I thought he'd be quicker than this even in the wet. But so far, he's still 3 tenths off pole.
Certainly is. Tin Can crossed the line, puts it on pole, 52.254. And this is why we say he is one of the better ones that are in this wet conditions, because he seems to prove it every single time. When it comes to the wet conditions, he just seems to be, well, it just seems to be up there. And it looks like he's going for another run. He's got the ERS to do it, so I'm intrigued to see how he's going to do come towards the end of this lap. But yeah, everyone's pretty much out on their final laps now, other than Luke and Funky Chicken. And I think Trench is going to be the next one across the line. I was actually right on board with Rudy before, but he had a massive tank slapper coming out of that final corner, as Trench has done a 2 minute 17.5. I don't think I've seen anybody go that slow before, to be completely honest with you, but I think he was just gearing up to get ready for that lap. So he's now starting his final flying lap. Is that Luke that's coming up towards a bus stop chicane? It is, to get started on his lap. So Division 3's champion, Old School, he is going to be the first one to complete a lap, and he will still have enough time to go for another one if he thinks it is relevant to do so. But yeah, Old School coming up towards the line. Is it at a 51s? It is a 51.8 as Trench has retired from the session. He's been at the top of Radion as the second person that has done that, and in fact he's actually retired on track, as Rudy now coming across coming around the final corner and up towards the line. Peter just in front of him puts it in P8, and Rudy into P2 with a 52.1. Still no one has put it into the 51s as of yet, other than Old School. But is Miami going to be the one to do so? No, he is in fact gearing up to start that final lap now. RJ is not actually going to be the next one. It's actually Tim Mats, and I believe he managed to do that 53.250. So that is Tim Mats' qualifying all done and dusted. It doesn't look as if he's going for another one.
Tin Can's on a huge lap right now.
He certainly is.
Tin Can is on a huge lap. He was 6 tenths up coming out the end of Sector 2. This should pop him into pole position. It'll be his last lap of quality.
So let's have a look. Tin Can 51.740.
I thought he was going to improve by more than that, but still puts him in pole. I thought he had a couple more tenths in hand. It didn't look like he messed up the last chicane. but I thought that was going to be more of a 4 or 5. But still, cracking that from Tin Can, and now everyone behind him is looking to beat him. Funky Chicken's not improved. That's a surprise. I know he's in the pits, but I'm amazed. Funky Chicken looks so quick all the way through, and only ends up P6.
Yeah, didn't manage to get any improvement done. RJ, I believe, has had a bit of a spin at the exit of Puon, so that's his qualifying all done as well. Luke is going to be the next one across the line, as, Carmentalist didn't manage to improve on his time either. 52.2 was the best for the Brit, so P4 is where he is going to remain. Luke now making his way around the final corner as Bree putting it up into P5, Raleigh up into P8. Is Luke going to maybe try and challenge both of those, maybe challenge his teammate? 53-0 for Luke, and it's only P12 for him. Old School, he's making his way around the final corner. He wants to try and take this pole position, and he certainly has with a 51.5 for Old School 3000. Peter coming around the final corner now. Is he going to be in contention with Old School? This is looking like a good lap, but it's not good enough. Is Rudy though? No, Rudy not able to improve on that either. Cam K the next one, 53.2 for the American. Miami though, on his return, it puts it into P4 with a 52.0. Tim Mats, I think, is going to be the final one, as well as RJ. In fact, was it Tim Mats that had to spin then? No, both of the Alpha Males just didn't manage to improve on their laps. So, he shows why he is the Division 3 champion. He's done little to no practice, and he pops it on pole position by 2 tenths up ahead of Tin Can.
I'm sorry, I was completely distracted. Chelsea have scored again. It's last week all over again. Old School never ceases to amaze in this division this season. He's had... I don't like talking up. I do not like feeling this man's ego, believe you me. But he has had a peerless season. He has gone from strength to strength to strength. And even when he's not happy, he's not comfortable necessarily, he's not had too much practice week, obviously he's got his son, and last week as well he wasn't necessarily happy with the feeling he was getting from the track. He's not a big fan of Monza, and yet he still pulls these results out of his back pocket, and it's just... He's having an incredible... I think if you put him in D2 right now, he'd be 5th or 6th most weeks, easy. He has found such a level of improvement this season.
He certainly would be up there for sure. But yeah, he managed to take the pole position with the 51.5. In second, it was of course Mr. XL Tin Can, second in the championship. Rudy in third, with Miami on his return in fourth. Carl Mentalist in fifth, Bree in sixth. Funky Chicken in seventh, with Raleigh rounding out that fourth row in P8. Peter in ninth, RJ rounding out the top 10. Scream in 11th, with Luke in 12th. Tim Mats in 13th, Cam K 14th. K-Mark in 15th, beating out his Vapor... well, I suppose Vapor compadre of Trench in 16th, and then Caesar, as said, didn't get a lap done, starting down in last in P number 17. So, yeah, I'm expecting Caesar to make his way up through the pack, but it's whether he can get it done cleanly is the first one. I'm not saying that he is a dirty driver by any means, because I know he is a relatively clean driver. It's just whether he is able to get through the pack quickly, or if he's just going to be a bit annoyed that he's getting held up by a couple of guys that he knows that he can overtake at least, because Spa definitely tends to have a lot of trains around here.
Yeah, I think this track isn't really about who's got the race pace. It's who's got the most nerve that they don't make a mistake sitting in those trains. I mean, you did PC last night, Jade Cole. What's your feeling from this track in terms of the way the races play out, even strategy as well? How do you think this might go down?
Well, I'm expecting a couple of guys to go for maybe a softer medium, even the guys that are inside the top 10, because I think the reverse strategy around here is not actually as good as what it's like around other tracks. A couple of guys that did a set of mediums to softs yesterday couldn't seem to make their way up, and I'm expecting the same thing today. So I'm expecting quite a few guys, even outside the top 10, inside the top 10, to go soft to medium. But from what I can see, it's medium. All yellow. It is all yellow.
I'm staggered. I am staggered. I in Division 2, in Season 3, I remember we had a wet qualifying at Austria, and I got pole position. I started on the mediums. Old School started on the mediums. Everyone around us started on softs, and we were just swallowed up in the first stint. There was no pace on the entire versus a fresh, sticky set of softs, because of course any soft wouldn't have any wear on from qualifying. They'd be in really good nick, and it's a great tyre around here anyway. I'm very surprised that no one has gone for softs, because if you're Rudy, if you're Miami, if you're Car Mentalist, if you're Bree, anyone in that kind of window just off the front, it's free real estate. There are places to be had. We saw it in Monza last week in D1. The guys who started on the mediums after a wet quali were gobbled up by the soft runners who started a little further back, and I'm just very surprised no one's gone for the softs. I thought it was a no. If you're in chicken or brie or Carmelis position, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer because the strategy works just as well either way. Perhaps even better, as you said, going soft to medium. So the fact that Trench is the only one, staggered. But I'll be very interested to see what Trench's progress is like.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued. I know Trench, his season's definitely been, well, not shy of just going completely up and down. He's been on the podium, I think, twice, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's finished P3 twice, one at Bahrain and one at Russia. So we know he is capable of getting himself on that podium. It's just today he's the only one that's gone on a set of the softs. He's gone for something alternate to everybody else, and I just wonder if that is going to pay out for him. It very well could. It very well could, especially off the line. I know it's a very, very short run up towards turn 1, but I'm expecting him to get maybe even a couple positions just at the beginning. As long as he keeps that nose clean of his, then I really think Trench could be on for a decent result, you know.
I agree with you. I fancy him. I think there's no reason why he can't come through. I mean, some of these guys will be sitting ducks to him if there's any shenanigans going on whatsoever. And I couldn't call this. Absolutely no idea which way it's going to go.
Neither do I, but we will find out in 22 laps time. We might even find out even on lap 1, depending on what can happen, because going up El Rouge and Rallye, well, I know a lot of people, they want to try and be the ones that go ahead in towards that, but we are just waiting for these 5 red lights to make their way onto our screens, and there you can see we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights going on for round number 15. And it is lights out, and away we go. And Old School getting a very good start coming off in towards turn 1. And in fact, Tin Can's been left sleeping a little bit. Miami's trying to go around the outside of Rudy in towards turn number 1. As Rudy's trying to go down the inside of Tin Can, gets that move done. The Dutchman now all the way up into second position. Now you've got the 2 Williams drivers that are both fighting for that lead of the race. A bit of contact going down the middle of the field as Trench and Caesar both trying to go side by side at the very back of the grid. But a few guys, I think, were trying to go side by side going up El Rouge and Radion. And I think it's all been kept very, very clean from the looks of things. Tim Matt is dropping back a couple of positions from Kmark. Kmark now up into P14, and it's looking very, very clean coming down. It was the end of the Camel straight. Cam K going straight down the inside of RJ, and the American already up into P11. But it's looked like a very, very clean start so far.
Rudy and Old School bumped wheels through Lecom. That was a bit of argy-bargy, elbows out, but no harm done. Rudy takes the lead from Old School. Great start from Peter. He's up a couple of places. I was on board with Vape Trench as well at the start. He got pushed wide or forced wide around the outside of La Source. He couldn't make the progress he needed.
Miami's gone round.
And oh my word, Miami and Bree and Raleigh contact on the exit of Puon, just going into the camper chicane. They're side by side as well. I'm not sure who's going to come out of this one on top. Raleigh just nicks ahead. Cam K's looking very interesting. Nearly taps the back of Bree as they come through Stavilo. And it's very condensed through there. They're concertinaing up through every single apex, and it's given the guys head a chance to break away. But as you say, Miami spun round. Not sure what happened there, but spun round at Puon, and he's got some wing damage for his troubles.
Yeah, he certainly has a round on board of RJ, as he might even try and go and look for a move on the American going into towards the bus stop chicane. Cam K going defensive on the inside. RJ going around the outside of that bus stop. Was even maybe having a look at Bree. I think came up going into the back of the American, but Cam K does manage to hold up into that P10 position. So the American has actually made up quite a few positions from the start of this race, but Rudy is the one that leads at the end of lap number 1. Old School in second, Tin Can in third, which now means Car Mentalist in the fourth.
Damage for Trench. Damage for Trench. He hit the back of Luke, I think it was, into turn 1. And he's now got damage. Been squeezed by, I think that was that Kmark that squeezed him on the exit of the source. Double wing damage, and our soft starter, it's not worked out for him, as he's going to have to join Miami and Caesar in the pits.
So Caesar's also coming, so he's obviously picked himself up a bit of wing damage as well. It was actually one of the Alfa Romeos. It looked like it was Tim Mat's. I'm not too sure what had happened there. I think his wheels just kind of got stuck on each other, and well, Trench ended up somehow going wide. I don't understand how he's managed to do it going like that, but other than that, it's sort of towards the back end, and with Miami having that spin through Pouon, it's looked like a pretty good start for everybody. Rudy's starting to already pull away from Old School, and it is advantage to the Dutch McLaren driver. And as I said, I feel like this could be his first win in Division 3 as K-Mark, the first one to pick up a 3-second time penalty. There isn't no Damon in here tonight, but you can still take that one off your bingo.
Yeah, K-Mark dutifully picking up from Damon as the as wielding the banners of Division 3 bottle bingo there. And as you said, Rudy's had a good start, hasn't he? It's showing me as Tin Can is 2/10 behind Old School. That is not the case, so I think there's some kind of timing glitch going on here. Perhaps caused by Caesar. Tin Can goes very deep into bus stop. That's going to put him really out of shape coming onto the main straight. Carmenes gets the car straight nice and early there. He's no DRS just yet. They'll get it over the top of Radion down the Kemmel Straight, but Tin Can looks vulnerable here. He was looking interested in Old School, but that little mistake has set him back some way. He'll just picks up DRS off the back of the house, so that'll spare his blushes from Carmentelis. But as you said, we've already got a train.
Old School already getting that move done on Rudy. Rudy's now back down into second position. Old School, sorry to cut in with you there, Jake, but yeah, Rudy now down into second position.
Oh, no worries.
And Old School back into the lead of the race. These two are just sort of starting to pull away from Tin Can ever so slightly, as I think Rudy was maybe eyeing up again.
Rallies out. He was got all the way out of shape on the way into Lacombe. Scream cut underneath him, and they just went barge board to barge board. Raleigh was tipped round like a pivot and ended up backwards facing into the wall. No safety car of any sort though, but Raleigh out of the race. He can't do his usual.
Oh, Tin Can as well! He's done the same thing as what his temporary teammate has done at Pouon. He's lost it on, going through Pouon. He's now got major left end plate damage. So Tin Can, well, I think that's your P2 hopes that are down the drain. He's almost squeezed Tim Mass off the road. But yeah, Tin Can just trying to get out of the way where he can. 5 drivers now remaining at the front, and Carmentelis, he's lost DRS to those front 2. In fact, he's gained it back.
Just back in it. He is back in it now a little bit. Old School's now stretching his legs ahead of Rudy after looking like he'd fallen back a little bit. Rudy locks up. They all lock up into the last chicane, actually. This is already becoming a race of attrition at the front somewhat. They've become quite strung out thanks to those various misadventures that we're having. Funky Chicken's doing nicely. He's sitting in P5 behind Peter, who's already got a penalty. I don't think of Belgium as a track where it's easy to get a penalty, but somehow a couple of guys have already managed it. Tin Can into pits. And this is why I'm surprised more people didn't start on soft, especially in the midfield. If you get wing damage as a soft runner, it's not too much of a problem. You can change it, go on the hards. They're slow, but you can get to the end. If you're on the mediums, you can go on to hards, but like I said, which is what Miami and Tin Can have done. I think that's saying very long, but
Scream and Bree both side by side coming towards the end of the Kemmel Straight. And let's have a look. Bree, the Maltese man, straight around the outside. But picks up a 3-second time penalty for his trolls. Cam K looking very racy as well. And I think this might be the American's probably best race of the season so far. I know it's only lap number 4, but he is putting the pressure on Scream and Bree, as Bree already 3 seconds behind that front runner train, as Carmentalist now has lost DRS. So those top 2 have gapped 3rd through to 5th, as Peter is the one with the penalty. Funky Chicken could be very well on. Could be. It depends on how how Carmentalist also chose to play this, but could be on for his first podium.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Carmentalist is clearly dropping back from these guys ahead of him. He doesn't quite have the legs that Old School and Rudy have. Peter obviously has the penalty. Funky Chicken looked nifty in qualifying. Didn't quite come together for him at the end, but he looks nifty in the race as Bree continues to drop back. So I think you're right. I think Chicken's in a really, really good place here, because Carmentalist doesn't seem to have the pace of the guys behind him right now, and I think Peter will probably be ahead of him come Les Combes, because well, he looks like he's got a clear straight line advantage. Gained a lot down the pit straight and towards bus stop as well. So yeah, Carmentalist in a little spot of bother now. I know he's not too confident on this track. He said all week he's not felt quick, not felt happy. He'll be delighted that he's in P3, but already he's going to be conceding it to Peter, who just takes the left-hand side, breezes past, DRS nice and open, and he's well ahead. No threat to him as he comes into the braking zone and nicely takes P3. Meanwhile ahead, Rudy, very close to Old School, isn't he? I'm in 2 minds about which of these drivers is the quicker. I can't decide who's got more pace under them right now.
I'd say they're relatively the same, but I think at the moment Old School is just a fraction bit quicker than Rudy, especially considering that Rudy is the one that has the DRS behind the Division 3 champions. So I think Old School at the moment, he's just making sure he picks his battles right, although Peter, I think, is the quicker one out of all of these guys, because he's already caught back up to those top 2 guys and already back in, I suppose, back in DRS. He's sort of on borderline, but he's definitely made up a lot more progress on what Car Mentalist did.
And that will have the effect as well, that he's going to end up dragging Car Mentalist with him, isn't he? Peter already, as you say, dipped into Rudy's DRS, and Car Mentalist, if he can just hang on for a few more corners, these guys are going to end up in a 5-car DRS train. And in fact, Bree's catching back up as well. The gap is... He's cut the gap to Funky Chicken by 4/10 this lap, so Breeze dropped back, but don't write him out yet. And another 2/10 to the bus stop. He's pulling these guys with him. Another penalty for K-Mark, if anybody's surprised.
Car Mentalist though, look at that, the gap right on the edge with Peter.
And he's using all his airs to stay in DRS, and oh, this is going to be a tasty battle. I'm thoroughly enjoying this already. I think this is going to be something we're going to see all race long between these guys, because Bree isn't out of it either. Everyone is in this race. Do not look away.
Interestingly though, Luke, DRS open, getting him over done on the American of Cam K. Now up to 8th position, Cam K now down into 9th. I'm quite intrigued. Who has made up the most amount of places so far this race? It is, yeah, up 6 places, and then Cam K up 5, and then of course you've also got Luke, Scream, K-Mark, and Caesar also all up 4 places, but of course the guys behind Caesar and behind did pick up wing damage relatively early on. The 2 Williams very sort of disappointed so far with this race, especially with Miami on his return back to the League of Europe, but Tin Can as well. I thought that maybe, who was the one that was in 3rd? Oh no, Tin Can definitely throwing away his 2nd position in this championship, so I think Rudy might end up being the one that could take the 2nd position in the championship. Commented as well, has a bit of high hopes for that, as Trench gone around at the end of, what was that, at the end of Lake Com. He's just sort of reversing down towards the hairpin.
It's a strange place to lose it that far down the straight, unless, as you say, he just rolled all the way down. And I'll tell you what, J. Cole, I think we might be about to see the lead switch hands again, because really starting lap half a second, just about behind Old School. See what kind of, has he got more pace out the hairpin? He used a little bit of theirs, Old School electing not to. And was that Tim Matz and Kmart trading places through La Source? It is indeed, but I don't think Rudy's close enough. I think he got the exit he needed out of bus stop to really, because think about it, to make a move into Lake Com, your overtake attempt really starts going through Blanchimont and bus stop, doesn't it? You've got to stay close through there. If you don't stay close through there, you're not going to be close enough, because it's flat out all the way from La Source to the end of the straight. So that's really where the overtake starts. And Peter as well, just 1.2 seconds lead. Comment is 1.7. We've got a really close battle here. Bree isn't quite closing in on them as much as I thought he was. Gap's 4.8 from him to Old School. It's about the same as it was a lap and a half ago, but boy is this battle for the lead close.
Yeah, I was just worried on board with Vapor Trench. I think he's about to retire from the session, but I don't know how he ended up going so far wide at Blanchimont. Very, very strange. But yeah, we could be seeing this lead change go on very, very shortly. Rudy back within that half a second. As you said, it's really got to be through Blanchimont and bus stop. If you're close enough there, then you'll be able to get that move done. However, you don't want to be a bit too close going up El Rouge and Radion, because then you'll have to ease off and do basically the Lewis Hamilton move, as I like to call it. If you try, if they're very close coming up sort of El Rouge and Radion, it means that they're going to need to sort of ease off because they're not going to try and go side by side up through there. It gives you a bit more momentum advantage because you're still carrying on full flat out. The person behind you wouldn't have done that. Yes, they'll have DRS and they'll be able to gain it back a little bit, but there's still the opportunity of them not being able to overtake. So Rudy, he's still hanging on in there, but again, it's just coming through the bus stop. Old School just looks a lot more comfortable going through there, and he just looks like he's got a lot more traction coming out of there in comparison to the Dutchman.
I think Old School might be running lower wings than Rudy, because the gap closes to about 4/10 coming out at Stavilo, and then all the way down to bus stop. Rudy just leaks away a little bit of time to his ex-title rival, and you can see in Lecom, he closes up at the end of the straight under DRS, and then again all the way through the middle sector, and then again, and then as soon as they're back on the straight, he starts losing time again. You have to wonder if Old School's just pacing himself a little bit, because these two broke away by some amount, and now I wonder if Old School's just clocked that he's got better straight line speed than Rudy behind, and now he's just kind of pacing himself, just making sure he doesn't make any mistakes like Tin Can and Miami did, and just setting himself up to really just cover whatever Rudy does.
Yeah, no, it certainly could be. I mean, these two are now starting to pull away from Peter. Peter almost in danger of losing the DRS, and if you lose DRS around here, well, then it's pretty much, well, it's very, very difficult to try and gain that back, with Peter only having about 13% ERS to his name. Top two still with at least 50% for the both of them. Carmental is also having quite a bit of ERS to play with. Peter really is the one in the danger zone, as Tin Can's picked up himself a 3-second time penalty for even more of his troubles since the beginning of that race. But yeah, I mean, he's managed to claw it back now as Rudy. Very bad exit coming out of the bus stop and almost losing that DRS out to Old School. As this yellow flags, K-Mark has binned it, and we have got a virtual safety car. So Old School, well, I mean, I don't know if that's anything that he would have wanted, because he was doing quite well, just sort of gapping towards the rest of these guys in this top 5 train. But I think for the likes of Bree, Scream, well, for Bree anyway, and for the other racing point of Luke, they might be quite happy with that, because then they know that they're not going to be able to overtake, or get overtaken, shall I say, coming down the Kemmel Straight. So yeah, both of the Vapor Boys now out, and again, add that on to your Division 3 bingo, K-Mark out of the race.
It's a strange place to lose it. I mean, you can, as we're under green flag conditions again, and Old School has nailed that restart, hasn't he? He dips into AI though. He's in AI as Old School from the back of Rudy. I wonder if he's just made a little mistake, perhaps? That was very strange, but he got a really great restart. Pulled away by about half a second on Rudy, got the jump, and then dipped into AI and lost all time again. Gap 3.5 tenths of a second. But yeah, Kmart, this is a strange place to lose it. On board with Rudy now, and you'll see this is where you're on board. This is, I think I'm getting connection issues perhaps, but that was where Kmart dropped it, and you can see the huge AstroTurf, the green painted area or painted tarmac that's on the outside of the track. It's so wide that it's hard to imagine going wide enough to kick up any gravel that's going to make you rear-end it into a barrier or something. So very strange place to lose it. Earlier games you might have done wasn't quite as generous with the amount of runoff, but this game a little bit strange. But I think this is as close as we've been, isn't it, between Old School and Rudy? Half a second coming onto the pit straight, but again Rudy not closing up. He's having to rely on DRS to keep him in touch down that main straight, because I just don't think he has. He's running too high wings compared to Old School to really stick close to him.
I don't know though, he's now a bit closer now, and he hasn't used any ERS coming out of turn number 1, so we could be seeing a lead change here go on. I think Old School going into AI, I don't know if it was a controller disconnecting or what, but I think this might be the opportunity that Rudy was looking for. DRS now open, he hasn't put in his overtake, Old School not using overtake either. I think they're just giving each other the most amount of room, as Funky Chicken now trying to go for a move on Carmentalist as well, trying to go around the outside, but Carmentalist holds that one down the inside and makes sure he keeps that P4 position, a net P3 I should say, considering that Peter is the one that has a penalty out of these guys in this top 5 DRS train. But Bree also, I didn't realise, had picked himself up a penalty as well down in P6, so it's going to put him a bit of a disadvantage from Scream and from his teammate of Luke, who he could possibly be overtaken by. Bree might end up at a bit of a low points position.
Well, I wonder if Old School's got some kind of problem or he's distracted, something perhaps because he was before the VSC he'd pulled the gap to Bree to about 5.2 seconds. It's now 3.9, and you can see how much Rudy and Peter and Carmen's Fucky Chicken have closed in. This train's really closed up 2 seconds, splitting all 5 cars. And I wonder if Old School's just he's distracted by something, or if he's talking to someone. I'm not sure, because he's lost a lot of pace since that VSC came out, and you can see visually just how much of a train this is behind him right now.
Yeah, Rudy's just doing everything he can just to try and keep up. He's again about half a second behind the Division 3 champion, and Rudy's still trying to look for his first win this season. I mean, again, coming out of turn number 1, Old School just looks like he's got the better traction, a bit lower wings, especially considering that Rudy will have DRS. He's not using any overtake still, whereas Old School, yeah, again, still same thing, not using any overtake, he's just chilling up in front. I don't know. I really don't know what is happening, but Rudy just has to stay behind the hash once again. I don't know if he's playing the cards right and waiting for when the pit stops happen. That's the only thing I can think of, as RJ has gotten past Luke now for P8. So Luke now down into 9th position, RJ up into 8th. Scream's still not able to find a move past Bree, and just keeping behind the multi-use driver for now. Cam K lost touch from both RJ and Luke, is now down, of course, into 10th position. We've got Tim Matz 2 seconds down the road, and then 17 seconds down the road is of course Caesar. You can't see his name for some unknown reason, but yeah, that is Caesar. And then the 2 Williams of Tin Can and Miami down in 13th and 14th respectively. They're just probably waiting for, or hoping, that a safety car does end up coming out very, very shortly. But yeah, at the moment Old School's still doing very well, just leading on this race. Rudy, I don't understand what is happening with him, because he, as you said, he seems to catch up in Sector 2, and coming to Sector 3 and Sector 1, he just seems to struggle and just can't have the pace to keep up with him in a straight line. I mean, he's still 4.5 tenths behind him now, but I feel like that gap's going to go back up even more once we go past it, as I believe that is Miami once again at Puon.
Not been the most glamorous of returns for Miami, is it? It's just not gone his way. He looked quick in quali, but clearly not finding his rhythm in the race. And I wonder if what Rudy's trying to do is he's trying to, because he knows he's got DRS, he can stay in touch with Old School through that. I wonder if he's just trying to dupe Old School into using all of his overtake. Because Rudy's on 75% now as they come in straight. Old School's on around 50. He's clearly not dipping into his reserves, but I wonder if that's Rudy's intention. Just the race isn't going to be won now, it's going to be won on the last lap, so long as he's in a position to overtake, perhaps on the sauce, maybe that's his game, as you say, wait till after pit stops, and in the meantime just try and get Old School to use up some of that overtake. But I think it's happening. I think Old School's very comfortable. He knows he's quick in a straight line, because the fact he's defending so easy and close, is he? Because it's not a case of they're both using ERS, or neither is using ERS. So Old School's not really having to compensate to defend from the DRS, is he? He looks comfortable. He looks like he's just vibing out there right now, and I think really needs to do more to try and scare him.
Yeah,
or make him feel under pressure.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he doesn't look as if he's close enough to try and, well, make Old School use some of his ERS to stay up ahead. Peter, by the way, he's managed to regain some of his ERS. He's back up to about 30% now. Funky Chicken and Carmented is still around 45 to 50% ERS for the both of them. In fact, over 50% ERS now. But yeah, Rudy, again, like, even just at the exit of the bus stop, you could see Old School had the better traction coming out of it. Out of turn 1, I'm expecting the same thing. Look, there goes Old School. Rudy just can't seem to keep up at that. And Old School, even now, he's replenishing more ERS. Like, he's not burning anything. Rudy needs to burn some to catch up to him.
I mean, I always use my overtake in 8th gear. I think that's where it's most effective. If you're defending, it's in the traction zones leading onto the straights where I find it's really beneficial. But when you're attacking, use it in 8th gear. Use it to add to your straight line speed with slipstream, with DRS. It's a triple threat. But Rudy's not using it. He's using it out of La Source on the run between La Source and Eau Rouge. He's not using it out of Radion and down the straight, which I find, I find it very odd where he's choosing to deploy. He's deploying out of the lower speed corners, and he's not using it down the straights, which I just find that very odd.
Yeah, as you said, I think it's just the case he's wanting to try and get Old School to use it, but it's just the case that, well, he's not. And it's now sort of creating a train not only behind Old School, but behind Rudy, with Peter, Carmentalist, and Funky Chicken, and Bree starting to close up to these guys now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Scream as well isn't too far behind. He doesn't have a penalty, so Scream is almost... He's in half a second of Peter's penalty window. I'm not sure if he'll know that. But, so a penalty can be across the Old School pits. That is early from Old School.
Peter and
But the
Carmentalist
Softs
follow
can do 9
Funky
laps.
Chicken.
Yeah, so Rudy needs the lap of his life.
Funky Chicken,
What
he's
has
got on
happened?
wing damage. He's gone straight into the back of Peter. Back into the Commentalist, going into the pit. So, Mr. Chicken, well, you've gotten yourself that front wing damage. You're going to have to get that one repaired. You're going to lose a boatload of time as Cam Kane also went into the pits. Bree also followed them into the pits. He's now going to be ahead of Funky Chicken and still close with this train for, well, what's essentially now a net P3, P2 maybe? Rudy didn't pit, interestingly enough. He didn't pit at the same time as what the rest of the guys did. So he's going one more lap on these medium tyres. And I know the undercut around here can be beneficial. So I wonder if Rudy is going to lose out quite a bit of time to the point where he could end up losing out a position to Peter and to Carmentalist. And maybe even to Bree. It depends. It's just how they're going to do their outlap at the moment. I think they need to get a bit of a move on if they want to come out ahead of Rudy. I think Rudy made a mistake of not pitting on the same lap as Old School.
You are 100% spot on, because I'm watching the gaps, and Old School was 18.3 behind at the end of the Camel Straight. It's now 17.7. Peter was about 19.5 and now 18.9. He's got a few more corners where he can absolutely chuck it in to try and close that gap. 18.7 now, 17.6 for Old School. Rudy has choked this by staying out the extra lap, and he should have just matched whatever Old School had to do. Peter is using all of his overtake this lap, every little bit he has. Same goes for Old School. Old School's down to 30%, and that's including the fact that he would have got a chunk back in the pit stop. So they're both giving it everything this lap to gain a place on Rudy. And I think Rudy is going to find himself behind Old School, behind Peter, behind Carmentalist when he comes out of that pit out of La Source.
Well,
And even if he's ahead of them, he's going to be so much slower off the corner because he's taken the tighter line. Ooh. And he's ahead of Peter, but is he going to stay there? I don't think he is. I think Peter's got the run on him. Although Rudy's got the airs to defend.
And the DRS
he's got
as well.
The airs to defend. Yeah, that is crucial. Peter used too much overtake, but he didn't have enough because he had more momentum coming out of La Source. If he'd had more overtake, he could have carried that speed and probably gone side by side onto the straight, but he didn't have enough. And now, actually, Rudy's much closer than I thought he would. Maybe Old School had a scruffy pit in or pit out, because Rudy is closer than he has any right to be, given how much time he lost on that last lap.
He certainly is, but look who's that one that's just in front. Tim Mats is going to be holding up the majority of this train now. It might even allow Bree to close back in. Scream's lost up quite a bit of time to Bree as well, as Funky Chicken now behind Scream through that pit stop phases as they're going into the back of the Red Bull driver of Carmentalist. So yeah, Old School, he wants to try and get this move done on Tim Mats ASAP, but if he does, he could then fall a bait to Rudy, so he needs to try and at least keep DRS to the Alfa Romeo driver. But look at how much more pace Old School has in comparison to Tim Mats. Tim Mats is just holding up everyone as much as possible, and I wonder if we're going to see him maybe go for a move coming up in towards Blanchimont. I mean, Rudy's starting to close up to the back of Old School once again as well, coming up towards Blanchimont. Yeah, Old School is using his overtake. He's having to utilise it to try and get past Tim Mats, maybe even towards the bus stop chicane. Tim Mats is going to go defensive on the inside. Oh, a little bit of contact between the pair of them. Old School goes around the outside. I wonder if he's got an illegal overtake for that, though. I don't think he has.
I don't think he will have done, but that was... Old School looked desperate. I've not seen him look that riled or agitated for an overtake. He looked very annoyed behind Tim Mats. I think he was bit miffed as to why the Alfa Romeo was fighting him as hard as he was, and that was borne out in his attempt to try and get past before the bus stop, because he would have had DRS and he probably would have thought Tim Max would be pitting, so he could have just taken it and just let him come into the pits. And now I think that's put Rudy right on the back of him, and you can see he's closing a lot towards the con, but Rudy's not using his overtake again. If you're not going to overtake now, when are you going to overtake? That was his best chance, 2/10 at the end of the straight. Peter is just 3/10 behind him as well, and Carmental is another 3/10 back. The top four covered by 1.1 seconds on lap 16. And you have to say, like I said, if Rudy's not going to do it now, when is he going to do it? He's got to make a move sometime, because he's only got 6 laps left at the end of this one.
All of this is really going to help Old School to get his ERS back as well, because, I mean, through Sector 2, you're not going to try and go for an overtake in Sector 2. And, yeah, Rudy, I think that was the closest he has been to getting an overtake done, but other than obviously on the first lap. So, Rudy, I don't know why he didn't try and go for a move at the end of the Camel Straight. That was his best opportunity to do so. And look now, he's already dropped back to half a second behind Old School. So, I think he has just ruined the opportunity for him to possibly even take this win for tonight. I don't know if he's waiting until the final lap and is just going to utilise all of his ERS and just make sure that he stays in front. I don't know. I really don't know. Peter's starting to gain his ERS as well.
We've seen a couple of strange decisions from Rudy. Staying out was one, because there was never going to be an overcut for him. So I'm not sure why he felt the need to stay out. The second one is his unwillingness to try and make an overtake for the lead. He got very close towards bus stop, 3/10 per second, and as we've seen throughout this race, he's given away a little bit back by the end of La Source, but he is quite close this lap. It's under 4/10 per second coming onto the main straight. Come on, Rudy, use your overtake. And he's going to go for it, but he's not using his overtake. He's going to go for it into that calm. He backs out. Wasn't close enough. He sensibly thought better than to try and force it side by side through there. I mean, that would only ever ended in tears. I think we've got a yellow flag. We've got Funky Chicken is round in the middle of Le Com. Scruffy race for him. He's shown a lot of potential today, but not quite swung his way, has it? And that cost a little bit of time for the lead as well, because Carmental is back to within 1.5 seconds of the leader. So Rudy forcing his nose up the inside of Old School, just a little reminder that he's there, and it's keeping the guys behind him very much in play as well.
I never like those half-hearted moves. I think I get why they do it, but at the same time, it just does not work out for them. And I feel like the person that goes for that half-hearted move, is the one that comes out the worst out of the two. And well, I mean, looking back at it now, he is of course back to 4 attempts behind him. Bree is starting to close up to the back of this train now. He's 2.4 seconds behind all of these guys. Of course, he has a penalty to his name, but he's gotten out of that 3-second gap from Scream, so he's at least safe from those guys. And P5, I think, might be the best of where the Maltese man's going to finish, unless someone else in this top 4 train also picks up a penalty and Bree, well, tries to capitalise on getting into those guys. But look, Rudy, he's now dropped back 6/10 behind Old School.
Oh, Old School was very wide through the middle of Eau Rouge, though.
He certainly was, and I
think it's cost him too much.
I wonder, are we maybe now going to see it? He's closing up to him. He's not close enough, though, so Rudy, again, not going for any sort of move. And I feel like Peter and Carmental are now going to start to get a little bit impatient. We've only got 4 more laps left to go. Yeah, I think the impatience is probably going to start wearing high on these guys now.
If I know Carmentalist at all, he will be very annoyed that Rudy is not trying to overtake Old School here. But I think you're right, Jacob. I think Rudy's decided, I'm going to have one go at it. I'm going to go for it from the last lap. But I'm surprised. I mean, surely it's better to get the lead and risk losing it again than to risk not getting the lead at all by saving it for the last lap. I'm just trying to, in my thought process here, I would never do what Rudy's doing. I'd never sit behind unless the guy ahead had a penalty,
or even if he had if he was derating and you've got the ERS to play with. But the thing is that Old School's building his ERS back up. He's on 25% once again. Rudy, though, he's getting close to him coming through Blanchimont. Maybe into the bus stop chicane. No, just sort of sits behind him for now. So Yeah, I mean, if he wasn't going to go for a move down the Kemmel Straight, I'll be surprised if he went for something out of the bus stop chicane. So, yeah, as you said though, Jake, it's the case that I'd rather be in front and then have someone try to overtake me, because then you know you can still defend, especially with the amount of ERS comparison to Old School. Old School's got 19%, Rudy has 71. He can utilise that ERS. Old School will need to use his to defend and put him at a D rating. If Rudy uses his now, he won't be D rating. He'll be comfortable with the amount of ERS he has. Peter's the other one. He's on 14% ERS and is looking at possibly going for Rudy.
He's pulling out of the slipstream. He's pulling out of the slipstream, is Rudy. It didn't look like it was very early if he's just doing that to spot his braking zone, which is a perfectly normal thing to do, but he did it very early in the straight. He can see Old School's D rating now. Just whack the airs on. The move is there for the taking. The lead is there for the taking. Unless, of course, Rudy is so caught up in his own legend of not winning a race, he's very committed to maintaining that fact. But, it's right. I mean, Peter is within DRS of Old School just about. So, this is a strange battle we are watching. It's more than a game of chess. It's a game of, I don't know, but it's a game without any moves right now, because Rudy seems very content just to follow Old School. He's on 76%. And he's getting good runs. He's close enough. He's getting close enough on slipstream alone. Penalty for RJ. But he doesn't have an appetite for an overtake. He could have sent it there.
Well, maybe not. I think he was still he was 2 tenths behind, but I think that still would have been a little bit too excessive for him. This is really I'm really surprised he's not going for this move. He's got to surely do it now down this Kemmel Straight. We've got 3 more laps left to go. Old School looks like he's got the better exit, but just it's got to be down. It's got to be.
It has to be this lap. Less than 3 tenths per second coming over the crest of Radion.
It's here.
This is it.
100%. He's still not using any ERS, but it doesn't look as if he needs to. Rudy down the inside of the Division 3 champion gets that move done. Peter almost, I thought, was going to go for a move, but sat behind Old School now. And both of those guys on about 20% ERS. Rudy, use your ERS. Get away from these guys, because this is your best opportunity for getting a win now. Old School he'll be building up his ERS as much as he can now behind him. Where Rudy has done that, yeah, he's now using the ERS to his effect, and he needs to get out of that 1 second gap. I still don't know, Jake. He's out of the second.
Peter and Carmenas will be fuming right now. Because if he was ahead of Peter, or if Peter didn't have a penalty, he feel like he could get Mark. But Peter is something of a doorstop between himself and Old School, and he slipped very far away from Old School down this back straight. Although Old School D-rating, that's going to bring Peter into play. Peter only D-rates just before the braking zone, so he's got a slight excess. But yeah, 6 tenths between these guys. Bree only 1.5 seconds further back. In fact, the battle between Bree and Scream for 5th place is very tasty right now. There's less than a tenth in it between them in terms of penalties. Tinkan, I think, gets his 4th of the race right there. And I think we're going to see Peter pass Old School now. Old School very slow, very sluggish up the hill. D-rating already, so is Peter, but Peter's got DRS. I don't think Old School's got anything to defend with. He stays to the middle of the track. Peter pulls left, and his Carmenta's going to do the same behind him. Is he going to go for it? He's too far back for this lap. I think maybe on the last lap, his Carmenta's going to fancy a lunge at the champion here, because he does not look happy, does he, Old School? He's not got the pace in these closing stages of the race. He led for so long, but now it's just unraveling a little for him. Rudy, 1.5 seconds clear up front, and the man behind him has a penalty. Surely Rudy can't lose the win from here.
We've said this before, and it's happened. And do you remember where we said it? We said it at Spain. It's happened before, it can happen again. But at this present moment, it is looking like Rudy is going to be the one that takes this win. Carmenta is going very, very deep. coming through the fast left and right chicane, coming towards the end of sector 2. So Screen picks up a 3-second time penalty, so that has now really said that Bree is finishing in that P5 position. And look at this, he's closing back up to Carmentelis. He's using his ERS as much as he can now though, but yeah, he's closed back up to Carmentelis. Old School only just has about 10% ERS to his name and is derating at the end of at the end of Blanchimont. Carmentelis, he does fancy his chances, and I feel like this is going to be his best chance. And he gets a very bad exit coming out of the bus stop chicane. We're now on to the final lap of the race, and Rudy leads by 1.7 seconds up ahead of Peter, about 2.5 up ahead of Old School. Old School will be the one that looks like it will finish second position, depending on if Carmentelis can get this move done. He's got the ERS, but Old School just got a much better exit out of turn number 1, and Old School, he's still got the ERS to utilise now, but it looked like Carmentelis got the better exit coming out of Radion, and yeah, he's using up that overtake. He's now derating. Everybody's also derating. Oh, Bree, no ERS to his name. And Rudy, he's now on 11% ERS. He's 2.1 seconds up ahead of Peter. But yeah, Carmentelis, I don't think he's going to get moved on. Saying that, Old School, very bad exit. Here we go, Carmentelis down the inside of towards the hairpin. He locks up massively coming into the hairpin, but Old School, because of him, I don't want to say it, but I feel like it's to do with the ABS, manages to stay up ahead of Carmentelis.
He had a huge moment through Lacombe. The car just did not want to grip up. Penalty for Carmentelis wide at P1. I wonder if the day has something. The car just wanted to wash across the track. It walks towards the outside of the track, and there's nothing you could do. The tyres just don't want to grip up. And penalty there, very costly penalty on the last lap, and he now locks up into Stavolo.
Oh,
I think
Peter.
that is game over. Another penalty for Peter though. And Carmentelis will get his podium, I think, because he's within 3 seconds of the Dutchman.
I was just about to say.
That'll brighten his mood.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Peter's now got back onto that podium, but, well, thank God I didn't say that, because he's now caught on that penalty. Rudy, though, he's literally sat behind Old School for about 19 laps, probably sick of seeing the sight of that. He has now finally taken his first race win of Division 3. Old School will finish in second, Carmentelis will finish in third, and Bree, look how close he was to Peter, 700ths of a second. Peter will finish in P4, Bree in 5th, Scream in 6th, Luke in 7th in the end, Funky Chicken in 8th after a hit in the back of Carmentelis being in that top 5 train, RJ in 9th, Cam K will finish in 10th position. Tim Mats and Caesar though, Tim Mats he's got no wing at the end of the race and still finished up ahead of Caesar. Very interesting. Tin Can just doing a few donuts at Blanchimont. I think he had a bit of a spin there, but yeah, he's doing some donuts there, and Miami will of course be the one that finishes at P14. But Tin Can, yeah, just said doing a few donuts. We're at the penultimate round of the season, of course, not being at the final race as of yet. That will be Brazil next week. But Rudy finally finishes on that top step of that podium, and he was waiting to do that since the beginning of this season, and finally in the penultimate round picks up his first race win, Jake.
That'll be a very sweet tasting victory for him. I would say he played it to perfection, but in retrospect, he all along it looked like he had pace to make that move sooner, and he could have won by a lot more if he had felt inclined to do so. He still never used his overtake, making that overtake. So be interested to see why he didn't want to slap it on. But take nothing away from him, he drove exceptionally well, and there he is, celebrating on the podium in an interesting fashion. But yes, I want to say our 8th race winner of the season. Could be wrong there, but I think it sums up a madcap season in Division 3, that we get to this point in the season and the man who is second in the championship has only just won his first race.
Yeah, that is wild to think about. He is now, of course, as you said, taking that second place in the championship, as Raleigh and Tin Can, they didn't pick up any points at all. Tin Can end up finishing 14th. Miami does pips the fastest lap in the end, but yeah, Rudy is the one that comes out on top, and as you said, he's in fact our 9th race winner of this season. So Rudy, well, 9th race winner out of 15 races so far this season. Good job to him. Old School, valiant effort, but ends up finishing second in the end. Carmentelis picking up another podium. 4 in Peter in 4th, with Bree in 5th, Scream in 6th, Luke in 7th, Funky Chicken in 8th, RJ in 9th, Cam K in 10th, Tim Mats in 11th with Caesar in 12th, Miami in 13th, Tin Cam 14th, K-Mark in 15th, Trench in 16th, with Raleigh in 17th. Of course, the bottom 3 unable to finish the race. Very unfortunate for all of those guys, but yeah, I said Miami picking up the fastest lap, Rudy taking the win, and Old School took the pole position. So it was a very eventful race. Quite boring towards the front end of it. Of course, they were just sitting in a train. Just, I suppose it was more mind games of who was going to be able to do what sort of move. But in the end, Rudy, he played that smart, and it worked out for him. It was definitely a lot more cautious than we were expecting. But in the end, as Lincoln Park would say, it doesn't even matter. He took the win.
He played it smart and he played it slow. I would say is the right way to sum it up. I mean,
Yeah,
he did it. He did a very good job. But I will remain confounded as to why he held back as long as he did. But I'm being harsh. He thoroughly deserved the win. He was the quickest driver overall. I'm a bit surprised. Old School. There were phases in the early laps where he looked like he was the quickest man out there. He was on pole, of course, but and then those last few laps, it just unraveled for him a little bit. I don't know if his tyres were going away or if he was just losing some rhythm. But from after that the SC came out, he never quite seemed to have the speed that he did beforehand. But another P2 for him at a track that he's not practiced for and he's not particularly a fan of. So I think that would surmise the fact that he has had an outstanding season.
Yeah, 100%. 100% indeed. So, yeah, that is going to be the end of the Division 3 stream. As I said, make sure you guys do check out Division 2 and Division 5 starting in approximately 15 minutes time. Of course, there's still a championship battle going on for Division 2 between Larkin and Matthias. And I believe there is also still one, and Jake as well, and Jake and Packer.
I am still in it, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
But yeah, make sure you guys do go ahead and check that one out. And Division 5 as well. Still the battle going on between Passe, Dutchface and Slayer. Slayer could end up taking this championship tonight for Division 5. I believe if he ends up just finishing up ahead of Dutchface and Passe, then that championship is for the Dutchman. But as I said, thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. And we will catch you guys for already the final round of the season around Brazil next week. So make sure you guys are tuning in.